Hello, this is the Otaku Observer, and my name is Steve Gerhardt. This week we are going to talk about an 80s anime called Venus Wars. Like so many anime, Venus Wars is based on the manga the same name. Written by Yoshikazu Yasuhiko, it was showcased from 1987 to 1989 in Nora Comics from Geiken. Geiken is the publishing company that put out a lot of different manga magazines. The anime movie was completed before the series was actually done, but was released right after the manga series had ended. Like many non-Japanese fans of this film, I saw it as part of an anime marathon. I saw Venus Wars on what would eventually become the Sci-Fi Channel. It would also be the same marathon where I saw and fell in love with Dominion Tank Police for the first time. Now, the reason why I chose Venus Wars as an example of 80s anime are due to a couple things. First, I should point out that Venus Wars is basically a one-shot anime. One-shot animes are what initially flooded viewing markets and helped get anime to a wider viewership in America. Now, while anime has been around for a long time, and some American audiences have been aware of it for 15 to 20 years, it wasn't until it exploded onto videotapes and then made available on cable for widespread viewing. Most of those animes were, of course, one-shots. A one-shot anime had a few things going for it. First, it was cheap to make because it was only one episode or it was a very short movie. And because the production company bought the rights from the publisher, who in turn had bought it from the creator, licensing wasn't that expensive. That meant it was easier for American markets to buy the program without fear of losing profits overpaying the licensing fees. The second reason is that Venus Wars has actually a good storyline. It's very basic, but the manga told a good story and was just popular enough to get a movie, but not quite enough to get its own series. And this is why I chose Venus Wars over a one-shot like Black Magic M66, which had good animation for the time, but an incredibly bad storyline. Venus Wars had a good following in Japan because the storyline was based on a motorcycle racer who lived on Venus. Now, during the 1980s, motorcycles were a thing in Japan. There would be roving tribes of gangs that liked to cause trouble. They were called Bosozuko, or running out of control tribe. Now, if you remember, many of Akira's characters were also Bosozuko. Venus Wars was very simple. The plot for it. The Venus had become an inhabitable planet by accidental means by 2007. By 2012, mankind was immigrating there in droves. By 2089, Venus was its own planet. It had its own government and not under Earth's control. And as a result, the planet was divided into two nations, Ishtar and Aphrodite, who in 2089 probably go to war with each other. Now, caught in the middle of the war is our hero of our tale, Hero and his racing gang of monobikers. Yes, monobikers. Motorcycles that just have this one huge wheel. That's basically what they were. Here's a picture of that. Hero and his team were in the middle of a deadly match of monobikes playing a sort of roller derby game when Ishtar tanks invaded their city and started wrecking the place. And by the way, in this anime, the tanks are freaking huge. Now, Hero and his team defended themselves and then went off to hide from the enemy. After hiding out for a while, things became peaceful under the occupation of the city. However, after a mix-up and being late during curfew, Hero and his gang get into trouble again, and this time are branded as terrorists and are hunted down. This situation paves the way for the gang to be recruited into the resistance, which they don't really want to do. They are given military monobikes, and off they go to fight the war. Now, Japanese war anime takes this subject very, very seriously. So as the movie goes on, characters do die and they don't come back. And a couple of the deaths in this movie will just kind of really irk you. But I'm not going to spoil any more details about the plot here. All in all, if you haven't seen Venus Wars yet, you should. As I said before, while a familiar story, almost formulaic, it's still a pretty good one. And as a one-shot, it's pretty darn good. The animation for the 80s was impressive, and it even managed to spawn a video game. While not up there in the pantheon of Gundam or Robotech of 80s anime, it's an important part of anime history as it snared a lot of young viewers at the time. It's kind of like watching a movie from the 1930s. You know it doesn't really compare to today's movies in technology and writing in many respects, but it still holds up. Okay, I know that I had wanted to talk about the revitalization of the AMV contest, but we'll talk about it next week because I'm running out of time. But also next week, I want to talk to you guys about a little show I just discovered on Netflix called Midnight Diner Tokyo Stories. Okay, I'm going to talk to you guys about it next week. Alright, my name is Steve Gerhardt. This is the Unagi Observer, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week.